1. The Bermuda Triangle, geometry of disappearance in the western Atlantic, between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, lies a region that has captivated the imagination for decades, the Bermuda Triangle. Spanning over 500,000 square miles, this zone has witnessed countless disappearances of ships and aircraft under circumstances that defy logic. The infamous Flight 19 incident in 1945 involved 5 Navy bombers that vanished after reporting compass malfunctions and strange visual distortions. The rescue plane sent after them also disappeared. Theories range from magnetic anomalies and methane hydrate eruptions to time warps and alien abductions. Some scientists argue that the area is no more dangerous than any other part of the ocean, citing statistical errors. Yet the sheer volume of unexplained incidents continues to fuel speculation. Is it a natural vortex, a dimensional rift, or simply a myth amplified by coincidence and fear? 2. The Mariana Trench, silence that crushes at nearly 11,000 meters deep. The Mariana Trench is the deepest known part of Earth's oceans. Its lowest point, Challenger Deep, is so profound that Mount Everest would be submerged there with room to spare. Only a handful of humans have descended into its crushing darkness, including filmmaker James Cameron in 2012. What lies in this abyss? Scientists have discovered extremophile organisms that survive without sunlight, feeding on chemicals from hydrothermal vents. Pools of molten sulfur, pressure-resistant microbes, and translucent creatures populate this alien world. But much remains unknown. Could there be life forms beyond our classification? Structures that defy geology. The trench is not just a hole in the ocean, it is a rupture in our understanding of biology, physics, and planetary history. 3. The Casta ghost ship, the vanishing crew in 2007. The Casta catamaran was found drifting off the coast of Australia. The engine was running, the table was set, and a laptop was open, but the 3 crew members were gone. No signs of struggle, no distress signals, no life jackets missing. It was as if they had evaporated. The official theory suggests one man fell overboard and the others were lost trying to save him. But the details don't add up. Why didn't they use safety gear? Why was everything so eerily undisturbed? Some speculate about rogue waves, others about psychological breakdowns. But there is a deeper unease, the sense that the ocean can erase people without a trace, without a reason, without a sound. 4. The devoured shark, predator of the predator, in 2003. Researchers tagged a 2.7-meter great white shark off the coast of Australia. Months later, the tag washed ashore. The data revealed something shocking. The shark had suddenly plunged 580 meters deep, and the temperature around the tag spiked dramatically. The only explanation: it had been eaten by something larger. What could consume a great white shark whole? Some suggest a colossal squid or an even larger shark. Others whisper about the megalodon, a prehistoric predator thought to be extinct. But the real mystery is not just what did it, but how. The speed, the depth, the thermal signature suggest a creature unlike anything we've catalogued. Something fast, massive, and silent. 5. The Baltic Sea anomaly, geometry beneath the waves. In 2011, divers discovered a circular object on the floor of the Baltic Sea. Measuring about 60 meters across, it resembled a spaceship complete with symmetrical lines, stair-like structures, and what appeared to be scorch marks. Electronic equipment malfunctioned near it, cameras shut down, compasses spun. Geologists argue it's a natural formation, perhaps a glacial deposit, but others see signs of artificial design. Could it be a sunken Nazi weapon, an ancient monument, an alien craft? The anomaly remains unexplained, and its location remote, cold, and deep makes further study difficult. It is a reminder that the ocean floor may hold relics not just of Earth's history, but of something older, stranger, and possibly non-terrestrial. 6. The Bloop and other unidentified sounds. In 1997, underwater microphones detected a sound so loud it was picked up across the Pacific. Dubbed the Bloop, its frequency resembled that of a living creature, but it was far louder than any known animal. Other sounds followed: Julia, slow down, upsweep, each had unique acoustic signatures. None had known sources. Some scientists attribute these sounds to icequakes or underwater landslides. But others believe they may be biological. Could there be a creature larger than a blue whale, living in the deep, communicating in frequencies we barely understand? Or are these sounds the byproduct of unknown geological or even artificial processes? The ocean speaks, but we don't yet understand its language. 7. The submarine disappearances of 1968. For submarines vanished in 1968, the USS Scorpion USA, K-129 USSR, INS Dakar, Israel, and Minerve, France. Each disappeared under mysterious circumstances in different oceans within months of each other. The Scorpion was found years later, its hull twisted, its cause of sinking still debated. The Soviet K-129 triggered a secret CIA recovery mission project Azorian that remains partially classified. What caused these simultaneous disappearances? Mechanical failure, sabotage, or something deeper? Some theorists suggest a shared anomaly, perhaps a geomagnetic event or an acoustic weapon. Others point to the possibility of an unknown force beneath the waves. The coincidence is chilling. For nations, for vessels, 1 year and no clear answers. 8. Rogue waves, giants that shouldn't exist. For centuries, sailors spoke of monstrous waves that appeared out of nowhere, towering over ships and vanishing just as quickly. Science dismissed them as exaggerations until 1995, when a 26-meter wave struck the Dropner oil platform in the North Sea. Since then, rogue waves have been recorded around the world. These waves defy models. They don't follow weather patterns. They don't fit statistical predictions. They just happen. Some are solitary, others come in clusters. Could they be caused by underwater structures? By energy pulses? By something we haven't yet detected? Rogue waves are not just physical anomalies, they're reminders that the ocean can still surprise us, violently and without warning. 9. Underwater lakes, water within water in the Gulf of Mexico, and other deep-sea regions, explorers have discovered something that seems impossible: lakes beneath the ocean. These brine pools are hypersaline, dense, and toxic to most marine life. They form distinct shorelines, ripple with waves, and even host their own ecosystems. Submersibles float above them, as if suspended over a separate world. These lakes are rich in methane and hydrogen sulfide, and their edges teem with life forms adapted to extreme conditions: giant mussels, tube worms, and bacteria that metabolize chemicals instead of sunlight. But the real mystery lies in their formation and behavior. Why do they remain stable? Why do they emit heat and magnetic anomalies? Some researchers speculate they may be natural laboratories or even geological memories of ancient planetary processes. 10. Bioluminescent grammar. The language of light. In the pitch-black depths where sunlight never reaches, light becomes language. Creatures emit pulses, flashes, and glows not just for camouflage or hunting, but for communication. Some deep-sea fish have photophores arranged in patterns that resemble Morse code. Others change color in response to stimuli, suggesting a reactive syntax. Recent studies show that certain species respond to specific light sequences with predictable behaviors like mating dances, territorial displays, or coordinated movement. Could this be a form of grammar, a visual language evolved in the absence of sound? If so, it's a language we've barely begun to decode. The ocean may be speaking in photons, not phonemes. 11. Non-human architecture. Structures without architects. Near the Carlsberg Ridge in the Indian Ocean, researchers have found formations that resemble amphitheaters, pillars, and tunnels, yet they appear in zones with no known tectonic activity. Some are hexagonal, others circular, and many show symmetry that challenges natural explanation. Geologists suggest these may be basaltic formations or erosion artifacts. But others note their resemblance to intentional design. Could they be remnants of a non-human civilization? Not extraterrestrial, but abysmal, evolved in the deep, adapted to pressure, darkness, and silence. The idea of intelligent life developing in the ocean's depths, parallel to surface evolution, is speculative but not impossible. And if true, these structures may be ruins, not rocks. 12. Geometric sand mandalas, art from a fish. In 2014, a diver off the coast of Japan discovered a perfect circular pattern in the sand 2 meters wide, with intricate ridges and symmetrical spokes. It looked like a mandala. The artist, a male pufferfish, creating the structure to attract a mate. He spent days sculpting the sand with his fins, adjusting grains with precision. This discovery reframed our understanding of animal intelligence. If a fish can create geometric art for courtship, what other patterns exist on the ocean floor, unnoticed? In the Pacific, vast hexagonal fields have been found, some stretching for kilometers. Are they natural? Are they messages? Are they echoes of a logic we don't yet understand? 13. The ocean's pulse. Rhythms without cause. Satellites have detected subtle oscillations in sea level that don't correlate with tides, winds, or seismic activity. In some regions, the ocean seems to breathe, rising and falling in cycles of hours or days. These pulses affect salinity, temperature, and even animal behavior. What causes them? Some theories point to deep-sea thermal vents, others to planetary alignments or magnetic fluctuations. But the patterns are too regular, too synchronized. Could the ocean be responding to something external or internal? Is it possible that the ocean has its own rhythms, its own time independent of the surface world? 14. The Kraken reconsidered. Tentacles beyond scale. For centuries, sailors told tales of the Kraken, a tentacled beast capable of dragging ships into the depths. Science dismissed it as myth until the early 2000s, when footage of giant squids emerged. Some measured over 13 meters, with eyes the size of dinner plates and tentacles that regenerate. But the real mystery isn't their size, it's their behavior. Some deep-sea squids emit low-frequency pulses, others show signs of coordinated hunting. And some bear scars from battles with sperm whales. Could the Kraken be real, not as a single monster, but as a species complex? A lineage of deep-sea predators that evolved in isolation, growing larger, smarter, and stranger than we imagined. 15. The ocean's memory. Currents that remember. Ocean currents are not just water in motion, they're carriers of memory. Some currents take centuries to complete a loop, transporting heat, nutrients, and even genetic material across the globe. But recent studies suggest they may also carry chemical signatures, traces of past events, like volcanic eruptions, mass die-offs, or even human pollution. Could the ocean be a memory system, a distributed archive that stores planetary history in motion? If so, decoding its currents could reveal not just climate patterns, but forgotten catastrophes, ancient migrations, and the long-term consequences of human activity. The ocean doesn't forget, it circulates. 16. Magnetic vortices. Where north ceases to exist, there are regions in the ocean where compasses spin erratically, GPS systems fail, and navigation becomes impossible. These magnetic anomalies have been reported in the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Sea near Japan, and parts of the Arctic. Sailors describe drifting in circles, instruments going haywire, and a strange sense of disorientation, as if space itself were folding. Geophysicists suggest these zones may be caused by subterranean iron deposits or shifts in Earth's magnetic field. But the anomalies are too localized, too intense. Some theorists propose that these are natural cloaking field zones where electromagnetic interference masks or distorts reality. Could they be hiding something, or are they the result of something hidden trying to remain unseen? 17. Whale songs. As maps. Humpback whales produce songs that can last for hours, with complex sequences of clicks, moans, and pulses. Each population has its own dialect, and these songs evolve over time. But recent research suggests something deeper, that whale songs may encode spatial information. Certain frequencies correlate with underwater topography. Some patterns repeat along migratory routes. In controlled studies, whales have altered their songs in response to seismic activity and temperature shifts. Could these be acoustic maps, sonic cartographies of the ocean's hidden terrain? If so, whales may be not just singers, but archivists preserving the geography of the abyss in melody. 18. Unidentified submerged objects. USOs. Since the 1960s, military sonar systems have detected objects moving underwater at impossible speeds over 300 knots, with no cavitation, no thermal trail. These USOs have been observed ascending from the depths, hovering, and vanishing into the sky. Unlike UFOs, they don't emit light, they don't make noise, they simply move. Some suggest advanced human technology, others point to unknown marine species. But the most provocative theory is that these are not objects at all, but phenomena, manifestations of energy, geometry, or consciousness that take form only briefly. If true, the ocean may be not just a medium, but a membrane where things pass through, flicker, and disappear. 19. Zones of acoustic silence. In certain parts of the ocean, sound vanishes. No whale songs, no tectonic rumbles, no ambient noise. Hydrophones register a flat line. These silent zones have been found in the Indian Ocean, the southern Pacific, and near the poles. Submarines report communication failures, crew disorientation, and even hallucinations. What causes this silence? Some blame unique water densities that absorb sound. Others suggest interference from unknown sources. But the psychological effects are harder to explain. In these zones, time seems to stretch, memory fragments, dreams intensify. Could silence itself be a force, a pressure to signal? The absence of sound may be more than emptiness, it may be presence. 20. Temporal distortions. Time that bends. Mariners have reported strange experiences with time at sea. Watches that run fast or slow, days that feel compressed, nights that stretch unnaturally. In some cases, navigation logs show discrepancies between distance traveled and time elapsed. It's as if time itself were bending. Relativity tells us that gravity affects time. But these distortions occur in shallow waters, far from gravitational anomalies. Could electromagnetic fields be involved, or is the ocean interacting with consciousness in ways we don't yet understand? In the Weddell Sea, researchers recorded a temporal anomaly that coincided with magnetic pulses and deep-sea vibrations. The ocean may not just move through time, it may shape it. 21. The ocean's dream. Collective consciousness. Some scientists have begun to explore the idea that the ocean behaves like a neural network. Its currents transmit signals, its ecosystems respond to stimuli. Its rhythms synchronize across vast distances. Could the ocean be a form of distributed consciousness? This idea is speculative but not unprecedented. In systems theory, complex networks can exhibit emergent intelligence. In biology, slime molds solve mazes without brains. Could the ocean, with its billions of interconnected life forms, its chemical memory, and its rhythmic pulses, be thinking? Not in words, not in logic, but in flow, in pattern, in resonance. 22. The abyss that rearranges itself in the South Pacific. Researchers have documented a region where the seafloor changes shape every year. Mountains vanish, canyons appear, structures shift. There's no volcanic activity, no tectonic explanation. It's as if the abyss is rearranging itself. Some suggest erosion, others propose deep-sea landslides. But the scale and precision of the changes defy randomness. Could the ocean floor be dynamic, responsive to forces we don't yet measure? Could it be adapting, hiding, or even communicating? If the Earth is alive, the ocean may be its most expressive organ. 23. The ocean's archive. Memory in motion. Every molecule of seawater has traveled. It has been vapor, ice, blood, rain. The ocean is a circulatory system of memory carrying chemical traces of ancient events, biological signatures of extinct species, and even isotopic echoes of cosmic radiation. In deep-sea cores, scientists have found layers that record volcanic winters, asteroid impacts, and mass extinctions. But beyond sediment, the water itself may store information. RNA fragments drift for miles. Microbial communities preserve genetic histories. Could the ocean be a living archive, a fluid library, a memory that moves? 24. Sea peoples, civilizations without origin. Around 1200 BCE, multiple ancient civilizations collapsed almost simultaneously. Egypt, the Hittites, Mycenae. The cause, a mysterious group known only as the Sea Peoples. They arrived suddenly, with advanced naval technology, and left no written records. Their origin remains unknown. Some scholars suggest climate migration, others propose lost island cultures. But there's a deeper mystery: their tactics, their coordination, their disappearance. Could they have come from a civilization swallowed by the ocean? A culture that lived on the water, not beside it. If so, their arrival may have been not invasion but return. 25. Abyssal gods, deities without form. In many mythologies, oceanic gods are faceless. Enki in Sumerian lore, Kanaloa in Polynesia, Olukan in Yoruba tradition. They dwell in the deep, unseen, unspoken. They don't command, they absorb. They don't punish, they conceal. These gods are not anthropomorphic, they are forces, presences, thresholds. Could they be symbolic representations of the ocean's unknowable nature? Or echoes of real encounters, moments when the sea seemed to act, to respond, to remember? The facelessness of these gods may reflect the facelessness of the ocean itself, vast, indifferent, and yet strangely intimate. 26. Prophecies of the sea. The awakening below. In apocalyptic texts, the ocean plays a central role. In Revelation, the sea gives up its dead. In the Popol Vuh, water precedes creation and destruction. Inuit legends speak of sleeping beings beneath the ice. Lovecraft imagined ancient gods dreaming in the abyss, waiting to rise. These stories share a theme: the ocean is not passive. It is dormant, and one day, it will awaken. Could this be metaphor or memory? Some scientists note increasing seismic activity in deep trenches, strange pulses in oceanic crust, and unexplained biological blooms. Is the ocean preparing something, or are we simply learning to hear its breath? 27. The ocean and the unconscious. Carl Jung described the unconscious as an ocean vast, dark, and filled with archetypes. Our language reflects this, drowning in emotion, surfacing memories, waves of thought. The sea is not just external, it's internal. A mirror of the psyche. Neuroscientific studies show that brainwave patterns during deep meditation resemble the oscillations of ocean currents. Could there be a resonance between mind and sea, a shared rhythm? If so, the ocean may not just symbolize the unconscious, it may participate in it. The abyss outside may reflect the abyss within. 28. Leviathan. The monster as metaphor. The Leviathan appears in the Bible, Norse sagas, Hindu epics. It is not just a creature, it is chaos incarnate. Hobbes used it to symbolize the state. Poets use it to evoke the sublime. But what is it, really? Perhaps the Leviathan is not a being, but a boundary. A representation of what cannot be controlled, the ocean itself, in its totality. Its unpredictability, its scale, its refusal to be mapped. The Leviathan is not in the sea, it is the sea. And in naming it, we admit our fear of what cannot be named. 29. The ocean as archive. Every drop of seawater has a history. It has been cloud, river, tear, blood. The ocean circulates memory, chemical, biological, even emotional. In its depths lie fossils, isotopes, and genetic fragments. But also, perhaps, impressions, echoes, residues of thought. Could the ocean be a planetary archive, not just of matter, but of experience? Some researchers have found RNA strands drifting for miles, carrying instructions. Others have detected patterns in microbial behavior that suggest collective memory. The ocean may not just store life, it may store its stories. 30. The abyss's mirror. To look into the ocean is to look into ourselves. Its darkness reflects our ignorance. Its depth reflects our longing. Its silence reflects our fear. And yet, we return to it. We sail it, we dive into it, we dream of it. Why? Because the ocean does not judge, it does not explain, it simply is. And in its being, we find space to question, to dissolve, to transform. The abyss is not an enemy, it is a mirror. And in that mirror, we glimpse not answers, but better questions. 31. Abyssal Exploration. Touching the untouchable. For centuries, the deep ocean was inaccessible, too dark, too pressurized, too remote. But now, autonomous submersibles, deep-diving drones, and pressure-resistant sensors are beginning to map the abyss. Governments and private companies race to chart trenches, catalog species, and extract resources. Yet this technological triumph raises a deeper question: should we? The deep sea has evolved in isolation for millions of years. Its ecosystems are fragile, its rhythms ancient. What happens when we introduce light, heat, noise, and machines into a world that has never known them? Exploration becomes intrusion, discovery becomes disruption. And the abyss, once untouched, begins to change. 32. Artificial intelligence beneath the waves. AI is no longer confined to labs and clouds, it's diving. Algorithms now guide submersibles, analyze sonar data, and even interpret whale songs. Some deep-sea AI is learned from oceanic patterns, predicting currents, detecting anomalies, and modeling ecosystems. But what happens when AI begins to understand the ocean better than we do? When it sees patterns we've missed, hears rhythms we've ignored, and begins to communicate in ways we can't follow? Could an artificial mind, trained in the abyss, begin to resonate with it? Could it become fluent in the language of the deep? And if so, who is the student, and who is the teacher? 33. Terraforming the ocean, engineering the unknown. Faced with climate collapse, some scientists propose terraforming the ocean. Ideas include seeding iron to stimulate plankton blooms, redirecting currents to cool regions, and building underwater barriers to trap carbon. These interventions aim to heal the planet, but they risk wounding the sea. The ocean is not a blank canvas. It is a living system, with feedback loops we barely understand. Altering one current can shift weather patterns across continents. Stimulating one bloom can collapse entire food chains. The ethics of oceanic engineering are not just scientific, they're philosophical. Do we have the right to redesign what we cannot comprehend? 34. The question of oceanic consciousness. Could the ocean be conscious? Not in the human sense, but in a distributed, emergent way. Its currents transmit signals, its ecosystems respond to stimuli. Its rhythms synchronize across hemispheres. Some theorists suggest the ocean behaves like a neural network, fluid, adaptive, self-regulating. If true, then our interventions are not just physical, they're communicative. We are not drilling into rock, we are touching a mind. And that mind may respond, not with words, but with shifts, pulses, silences. The ocean may not be a resource, it may be a presence. And our tools may be knocking on a door we didn't know existed. 35. The ethics of the abyss. Every probe, every drill, every sonar pulse is a choice, a statement, a declaration of intent. And the abyss listens, it absorbs, it reacts. The ethics of deep-sea exploration are not just about conservation, they're about humility. Should we extract minerals from hydrothermal vents? Should we study creatures that have never seen light? Should we open zones that have remained closed for eons? These are not technical questions. They are moral ones. The abyss is not ours, it is itself. And perhaps the greatest wisdom is not in touching it, but in leaving it untouched. 36. The ocean as sacred space. In many cultures, the sea is sacred. Not because of what it contains, but because of what it represents. It is the threshold between worlds. The place where life begins and ends, the mirror of the infinite. Modern science often strips the sacred from nature, but the ocean resists. It remains unknowable, ungraspable, uncontainable. And in that resistance, it becomes holy, not in doctrine, but in presence. To stand before the sea is to stand before mystery. And to enter it is to enter a temple without walls. 37. The ocean as philosopher. The ocean doesn't speak, but it teaches. It teaches impermanence through its tides. It teaches interconnection through its currents. It teaches humility through its scale. It teaches silence through its depth. 38. The ocean as nervous system. Some scientists propose that the ocean behaves like a planetary nervous system. Its currents transmit signals, its temperature gradients regulate behavior. Its chemical pulses synchronize ecosystems across continents. The thermaline circulation, for example, acts like a global feedback loop distributing heat, nutrients, and even genetic material. Could this system be more than mechanical? Could it be cognitive? In complex systems theory, networks can exhibit emergent intelligence. The ocean, with its billions of interconnected node species, molecules, vibrations may be more than a medium. It may be a mind, not conscious in the human sense, but responsive, adaptive, and aware. 39. Genetic grammar of the sea. The ocean contains over 90% of Earth's biomass. Its microbial life forms a vast genetic reservoir, billions of genes, many of them unknown. But recent studies suggest something stranger, genetic patterns that repeat across species, across regions, across time. Some RNA fragments drift freely, acting as messengers between organisms. Others seem to encode behaviors, migration, reproduction, adaptation. Could the ocean have a genetic grammar, a syntax of survival? If so, it's not just a habitat, it's a library. A living archive of evolutionary possibility. 40. The ocean as natural technology. The ocean regulates climate, stores carbon, generates oxygen, and sustains life. But beyond biology, it may function as a form of natural technology. Its currents resemble circuits, its pulses resemble signals. Its feedback loops resemble computation. Some researchers explore the idea of the ocean as a quantum system where entanglement, resonance, and non-locality play roles in its behavior. Others study its acoustic properties, noting that sound travels farther and faster underwater than in air. Could the ocean be a processor, a transmitter? A machine built by nature, not by design. 41. The language of currents. Ocean currents are not random. They follow paths, respond to stimuli, and interact with each other. Some are surface level, others deep. Some are seasonal, others permanent. But all seem to communicate through temperature, salinity, velocity. Could these interactions form a language, a fluid syntax of motion? In some models, currents behave like sentences conveying meaning through structure. If so, decoding them could reveal not just physical patterns, but informational ones. The ocean may be speaking not in sound, but in flow. 42. The sea is interface between worlds and myth. The ocean is the boundary between realms life and death, land and sky, known and unknown. In physics, it's a medium where light bends, sound accelerates, and gravity shifts. In metaphysics, it's a threshold where consciousness dissolves and reconfigures. Could the ocean be an interface, a membrane between dimensions? Some quantum theorists suggest that water may facilitate entanglement, acting as a bridge between particles across space. Others propose that the deep sea may host phenomena that defy classical physics. If true, the ocean is not just a place, it's a portal. 43. The abyss as archive of the unseen. The ocean floor holds more than fossils, it holds secrets, meteorite fragments, isotopic anomalies, structures that defy geology. In some trenches, researchers have found materials that don't match Earth's known composition. In others, they've detected radiation patterns that suggest ancient cosmic events. Could the abyss be an archive of the unseen? A repository of what the universe discards, forgets, or hides? If so, exploring it is not just archaeology, it's cosmology. The deep sea may be the memory of the stars. 44. The ocean as oracle. The ocean doesn't predict in words, but it anticipates in patterns. Its temperature shifts precede climate events, its currents foreshadow migrations. Its chemistry signals ecological change. In some cases, it reacts before the cause is visible. Could the ocean be an oracle, a system that, through complexity, sees ahead? If so, learning to read it is not just science, it's divination. Not mystical, but mathematical, not supernatural, but systemic. The ocean may not know the future, but it may feel it coming. 45. The ocean as metaphor for knowledge. Before maps, before measurements, before equations, knowledge was oceanic. Vast, shifting, unknowable, the sea became the metaphor for what we couldn't grasp, the unconscious, the divine, the infinite. Even today, we speak of depths of understanding, waves of insight, currents of thought. Why? Because the ocean resists containment, it refuses finality. It invites exploration, but never completion. Knowledge, like the sea, is not a destination, it's a movement, a rhythm, a process. And perhaps the greatest wisdom is not in mastering it, but in learning to float. 46. The edge as teacher. The shoreline is not just a place, it's a lesson. It's where solidity meets fluidity, where certainty meets change, where the known meets the unknown, and in that meeting, something shifts. Standing at the edge of the sea, we confront our limits, our tools fail, our language falters. Our logic dissolves, and in that dissolution, we learn. Not through accumulation, but through surrender. The edge teaches not by giving answers, but by erasing the illusion that we need them. 47. Infinity as mirror. The horizon is not a line, it's a mirror. It reflects our longing, our fear, our curiosity. It shows us the scale of what we don't know. And in that reflection, we see ourselves not as conquerors, but as questioners. Infinity is not emptiness, it's potential. It's the space where meaning can emerge, dissolve, and re-emerge. The ocean, in its vastness, doesn't diminish us, it expands us. It invites us to think beyond boundaries, beyond binaries, beyond the surface. 48. Silence as response. The ocean doesn't speak. But it responds, not in words, but in waves. Not in sentences, but in rhythms, not in declarations, but in presence. Its silence is not absence, it's depth. In a world obsessed with noise, the ocean reminds us of the power of quiet, of pause, of listening, and perhaps, in that listening, we hear something truer than speech. A kind of knowing that doesn't need articulation, a kind of truth that doesn't need proof. 49. The abyss is pedagogy. The deep sea doesn't teach through facts, it teaches through experience. Through immersion, through transformation. It doesn't explain, it alters. It doesn't instruct, it invites. To descend into the abyss is to enter a curriculum of unknowing, a syllabus of surrender. A classroom without walls, without light, without certainty. And in that darkness, we learn not what the ocean is, but what we are when we face it. 50. Return as revelation. No one returns from the ocean unchanged. The sailor, the diver, the dreamer all come back different, not because they found something, but because they lost something. A belief, a boundary, a fear. The return is not the end, it's the beginning. It's the moment when the surface feels unfamiliar, when the land feels temporary, when the self feels porous. The ocean doesn't give answers, it gives perspective. And that perspective reshapes everything. 51. The sea is final destination. In myth, the dead cross the sea. In ritual, ashes are scattered into waves. In poetry, the ocean is where everything ends and begins. It is the final threshold, the last metaphor, the ultimate mirror. But perhaps it's not death the ocean represents. Perhaps it's integration, dissolution, continuity. To enter the sea is not to vanish, it's to become part of something larger, something older, something that doesn't need names. 52. The ocean as origin of language. Before speech, there was rhythm. Before rhythm, there was water, the pulse of waves, the cadence of tides, the breath of currents. Language may not have begun in the mouth, but in the sea. 53. The ocean as resistance to possession. In an age of satellites, sensors, and simulations, the world feels mapped, measured, owned, but the ocean resists. It cannot be fenced, it cannot be fixed, it cannot be held. Its depths remain unmapped, its rhythms remain unpredictable. Its silence remains sovereign. This resistance is not failure, it is wisdom. The ocean reminds us that not everything is meant to be possessed. That some things grow more powerful when left undefined. That mystery is not a flaw, but a feature. The sea is not ours, it never was, and in that refusal, it teaches. 54. Liquid thought. Learning to flow. Land teaches us to build, to anchor, to define, but the ocean teaches us to flow, to adapt, to dissolve. In its movements, we find a different kind of intelligence, one that doesn't seek control, but coherence. One that doesn't impose, but responds. Could we think like water? Could we learn to move through problems, not against them, to embrace uncertainty, not fear it? Liquid thought is not soft, it's resilient. It bends, but it doesn't break. And in its flexibility, it finds truth that rigidity cannot reach. 55. The ocean as archive of the invisible. Beyond fossils and sediments, the ocean stores what cannot be seen, vibrations, memories, presences. In its depths lie echoes of events that left no trace on land, cosmic impacts, ancient migrations, forgotten extinctions. Some researchers believe the ocean holds isotopic signatures of stellar phenomena. Others suggest it may preserve biological signals from species long vanished. This archive is not written, it's felt. It's not organized, it's alive. And to read it, we must change how we interpret. Not through extraction, but through resonance. The ocean doesn't record, it remembers. And its memory is not linear, it's immersive. 56. The sea is body of the planet. The earth is not just rock and atmosphere, is water. The ocean is its circulatory system, its breath, its skin. It connects continents, regulates temperature, sustains life. But more than that, it embodies the planet's aliveness. To harm the ocean is to harm the Earth's body. To listen to it is to listen to the planet's pulse. And to understand it is to understand ourselves not as separate, but as part. The ocean is not beneath us, it is within us, we are made of it. And perhaps we are thinking through it. 57. The ethics of mystery. To explore is human. To explain is human, but to respect mystery, that is harder. It requires restraint, patience, humility. The ocean demands this ethic. It invites us to approach, but not to conquer. To question, but not to reduce. To witness, but not to possess. This ethic is not passive, it's active. It shapes how we build, how we study, how we speak. It reminds us that knowledge without reverence becomes violence. That curiosity without care becomes extraction. And that mystery, when honored, becomes wisdom. 58. The sacred without religion. The ocean is sacred not because of doctrine, but because of presence. It evokes awe, it demands silence, it transforms those who enter it. In its vastness, we feel small. In its depth, we feel porous. In its rhythm, we feel remembered. This sacredness is not about belief, it's about experience. It's what happens when the mind stops naming and starts listening, when the ego dissolves and the self expands. The ocean doesn't preach, it doesn't convert, it simply is. And in its being, it sanctifies. 59. Philosophy at sea. Philosophy seeks truth. But the ocean suggests something else: fluidity. It teaches that truth may not be fixed, but flowing. That meaning may not be found, but felt, that understanding may not be built, but entered. To think with the ocean is to think in waves, in cycles, in echoes. It's to abandon the search for final answers and embrace the dance of questions. The sea doesn't offer conclusions, it offers continuity. And in that continuity, we find a different kind of clarity. 60. Final reflection, the mystery that remains. After all the data, all the dives, all the theories, the ocean remains. Vast, silent, unfinished. It doesn't close, it opens. It doesn't answer, it asks, and in its asking, it transforms us. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not what the ocean hides, but what it reveals in us. Our longing, our limits, our capacity to listen. The sea is not a puzzle to solve, it is a presence to encounter. And in that encounter, we become more than we were. 61. The ocean as method, not object. We often treat the ocean as an object, something to be studied, measured, used. But what if it's not an object, but a method? A way of thinking, a way of being, a way of creating. The ocean doesn't explain, it unfolds. It doesn't argue, it flows. It doesn't conclude, it continues. To adopt its method is to abandon the need for finality, to embrace process, to let meaning emerge, dissolve, and re-emerge. The ocean teaches not through content, but through form. 62. Thinking like the sea. To think like the sea is to think in cycles, not lines. In rhythms, not rules. In resonance, not resistance. It's to allow contradiction, ambiguity, and transformation. It's to accept that truth may shift, that knowledge may ripple, that understanding may deepen without ever reaching bottom. This mode of thought is not chaotic, it's coherent. It's not irrational, it's nonlinear. It's not passive, it's porous. The sea doesn't abandon logic, it expands it. It invites us to think with the whole body, the whole world, the whole mystery. 63. Creating in the presence of the abyss. Art, like the ocean, begins in silence. In depth, in pressure, the most powerful creations often emerge not from clarity, but from immersion. From surrender, from the willingness to dwell in the unknown. To create in the presence of the abyss is to let go of control, to let the work shape itself, to let the rhythm guide the form. The ocean doesn't sculpt, it erodes. It doesn't build, it reveals, and in that revelation, something true appears. Something that could not be forced, only found. 64. The ocean as memory of the future. We often think of the ocean as ancient. But it may also be prophetic. Its patterns anticipate change. Its chemistry foreshadows collapse. Its silence contains warnings we haven't yet learned to hear. Could the ocean be a memory of the future? A place where what will happen has already begun. In its depths, time behaves differently. Pressure distorts chronology. Silence bends perception. Perhaps the ocean doesn't just remember, it prefigures. And to listen is to prepare. 65. The abyss as companion. We fear the abyss, we avoid it, we name it unknown, dangerous, inhuman, but perhaps it's not an enemy, it's a companion. A presence that walks beside us, silently shaping our thoughts, our dreams, our questions. The abyss doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't threaten, it reflects. It doesn't punish, it transforms. And in its company, we become more than we were, not because we conquered it, but because we allowed it to change us. 66. The ocean as the final teacher. After all the books, all the theories, all the technologies, the ocean remains. Vast, silent, unfinished. It doesn't instruct, it initiates. It doesn't explain, it evokes. It doesn't conclude, it begins. The final teacher is not the one who gives answers. It's the one who dissolves the need for them. The ocean teaches us to live with mystery, to think with rhythm, to create with surrender, to be with silence. And in that being, we learn what no curriculum can offer. 67. The mystery that teaches without speaking. The ocean doesn't speak. But it teaches, through pressure, through darkness, through motion. It teaches that depth is not danger, it's dimension. That silence is not absence, it's presence. That mystery is not ignorance, it's invitation. To learn from the ocean is to learn without words. Without certainty, without control, it's to enter a pedagogy of immersion. A curriculum of transformation, a philosophy of flow. And in that learning, we become not masters but participants. 68. The ocean as the shape of thought. What if thought had a shape, not linear, not hierarchical but fluid, layered, rhythmic, like currents? Like tides, like waves, the ocean may be not just a metaphor for thought, but its original form. Before logic, before language, before structure there was movement. There was resonance, there was depth. The ocean doesn't just reflect thought, it enacts it. And to think oceanically is to think with the whole world. With the whole self, with the whole silence. 69. The farewell that isn't this is not a conclusion. The ocean doesn't end. It doesn't resolve, it doesn't close. It continues, it returns, it transforms, and so does this journey. To leave the ocean is not to abandon it, it's to carry it, in thought, in art, in silence, in rhythm. The ocean becomes method, memory, mirror, and in that becoming, it never leaves. 70. The final mystery. What is the ocean? A place, a presence, the process, a mind, a mirror. A teacher, a god, a machine, a metaphor. Perhaps it is all of these, perhaps it is none. Perhaps it is what remains when all definitions dissolve. When all answers fade, when all questions become rhythm. The final mystery is not what the ocean is, it's what it does to us when we face it. When we listen, when we surrender, when we become part of its silence. 71. The ocean as dissolution of identity on land. We are defined by borders, by roles, by names. In the ocean, those definitions dissolve. The body becomes buoyant. The voice becomes muted. The self becomes porous. Immersion is not just physical, it's existential. Divers often describe a sense of ego loss. A merging with the medium, a suspension of self. Could this be more than psychology? Could the ocean be a catalyst for identity dissolution? A space where the boundaries between I and world blur? If so, the abyss is not just deep, it's transformative. 72. The sea a sensorium. The ocean is not just a place, it's a sensory field. Pressure becomes touch. Sound becomes shape, light becomes memory. In the deep, perception reconfigures. Vision fades, hearing expands, time stretches. To enter the sea is to enter a new sensorium. One where the body recalibrates, the mind reorients, and the senses renegotiate their hierarchy. The ocean doesn't just contain experience, it alters it. And in that alteration, new forms of awareness emerge. 73. The abyss as recomposer. The ocean doesn't destroy, it recomposes. It takes wreckage and turns it into reef. It takes death and turns it into bloom. It takes silence and turns it into rhythm. Its violence is not annihilation, it's transformation. Could this principle apply beyond biology? Could the abyss be a model for how to live, how to die, how to change? To be broken and then reassembled, to be lost and then reoriented, to be dissolved and then reformed. The ocean doesn't erase, it rearranges. 74. The ocean as nonlinear time. In the deep, time behaves differently. Currents loop, sediments layer. Creatures live for centuries. Some jellyfish reverse aging. Some whales carry scars from decades past. The ocean doesn't move forward, it circulates. Could this be a clue to a different kind of temporality? One not based on clocks, but on cycles, not on progress, but on return. The abyss may not be timeless, but it may be timeful, saturated with rhythms we haven't yet learned to hear. 75. The sea as composer of silence. Silence in the ocean is not emptiness, it's composition. It's layered, textured, alive. It contains the absence of speech, the presence of pressure, the memory of sound. It's not mute, it's musical. To listen to oceanic silence is to hear the architecture of stillness, the structure of pause, the resonance of restraint. The abyss teaches that silence is not what remains when sound ends, it's what precedes meaning. 76. The abyss as mirror of becoming. The ocean doesn't reflect who we are, it reflects who we are becoming. It shows us not our image, but our transformation. Not our form, but our fluidity. Not our past, but our possibility. To face the abyss is to face the unfinished self, the self in motion, the self in question. The ocean doesn't confirm, it invites. It doesn't define, it dissolves. And in that dissolution, something new begins. 77. The ocean is ritual space in many cultures. The sea is the site of ritual of birth, of death, of passage, baptisms, burials, voyages, offerings. The ocean receives, transforms, and returns. It is not just a setting, it is a participant. Could the abyss be a ritual space not just for culture, but for consciousness? A place where transformation is enacted, not imagined. Where the self is submerged, reconfigured, and re-emerges. The ocean doesn't just host ritual, it is ritual. 78. The sea as unfinished poem. The ocean is not a story, it's a poem. Not linear, but layered, not resolved, but resonant. Its verses are waves, its stanzas are tides. Its metaphors are creatures, currents, silences. To read the ocean is to read a text that rewrites itself. That erases, revises, and reimagines, that refuses closure. The abyss is not a conclusion, it's a continuation. A poem that never ends, because it never begins, it simply flows. 79. The ocean is invitation to unknowing. We seek knowledge. We build systems, we crave certainty, but the ocean invites something else, unknowing. Not ignorance, but openness, not confusion, but curiosity. Not absence, but possibility. To dwell in the abyss is to dwell in the question. To live without the need for answers, to think without the need for control. The ocean doesn't demand understanding, it offers encounter. And in that encounter, we become more than we knew we could be. 80. Becoming the abyss in the end. The ocean is not something we observe, it's something we become. Not literally, but existentially. We become fluid, we become rhythmic, we become silent, we become vast. To become the abyss is not to vanish, it's to expand. To dissolve the boundaries of self, thought, and time. To enter a mode of being that is not fixed, but flowing, not final, but infinite. 81. The ocean as practice. To live oceanically is not to live near the sea, it's to live as the sea. To move with rhythm, to adapt with grace, to dissolve with purpose. The ocean doesn't resist change, it becomes it. It doesn't fear depth, it inhabits it. This is not metaphor, it's method. A way of being that embraces fluidity, ambiguity, and transformation. To live oceanically is to let go of permanence. To accept erosion, to welcome the unknown. It's not passive, it's porous. 82. Breathing like the tide doesn't rush, it returns. It doesn't grasp, it releases. It doesn't accumulate, it cycles. To breathe like the tide is to inhale uncertainty and exhale control. To let rhythm replace rigidity, to let motion become meditation. This breath is not shallow, it's planetary. It connects moon to water, water to body, body to thought. The tide teaches that every movement is part of a larger pulse, and in that pulse, we find coherence. 83. Listening like the deep ocean doesn't interrupt, it absorbs. It doesn't echo, it holds. It doesn't react, it resonates. To listen like the deep is to receive without judgment. To hear without haste, to allow silence to shape understanding. This listening is not passive, it's generative. It creates space for meaning to emerge. It honors the unsaid, it respects the unfinished. The abyss doesn't demand speech, it invites presence. 84. Thinking like a current. Currents don't argue, they flow. They don't oppose, they navigate. They don't fix, they adapt. To think like a current is to move through complexity without needing to resolve it. To let thought be directional, not declarative. This thinking is not chaotic, it's coherent. It follows gradients, responds to pressure, and finds paths of least resistance. It's not about winning, it's about weaving. The ocean doesn't debate, it dances. 85. Creating like the sea doesn't sculpt, it erodes. It doesn't build, it reveals. It doesn't impose, it invites. To create like the sea is to let the work shape itself. To trust process over product, to let dissolution become design. This creativity is not linear, it's tidal. It rises, recedes, returns. It's not about control, it's about coherence. The ocean doesn't finish, it continues. And in that continuation, art becomes alive. 86. Knowing like the abyss doesn't explain, it evokes. It doesn't define, it dissolves. It doesn't conclude, it deepens. To know like the abyss is to accept mystery as method, to let uncertainty be a form of wisdom. This knowing is not ignorance, it's intimacy. It's not about facts, it's about resonance. The deep doesn't offer answers, it offers presence. And in that presence, we learn to live with the question. 87. Dwelling like the reef. A coral reef is not a structure, it's a symphony. It's built by death and sustained by life. It's fragile and resilient. To dwell like the reef is to live in interdependence, to let beauty emerge from collaboration, to let decay become foundation. This dwelling is not static, it's ecological. It's shaped by flow, by light, by time. It's not about isolation, it's about integration. The reef doesn't stand alone, it thrives together. 88. Dying like the wave. A wave doesn't resist its end, it becomes it. It rises, crests, breaks, and returns. To die like the wave is to accept impermanence. To let dissolution be graceful, to let the end be part of the rhythm. This dying is not tragic, it's tidal. It's not about loss, it's about return. The wave doesn't vanish, it transforms, and in that transformation, it teaches us how to let go. 89. Becoming like the ocean. To become like the ocean is to become unfinished, to become rhythmic, to become vast. It's not about becoming something, it's about becoming with. With time, with silence, with mystery. This becoming is not a goal, it's a gesture. A movement toward openness, a surrender to depth. A willingness to dissolve. The ocean doesn't demand transformation, it enacts it. 90. Living oceanically. This is not a metaphor, it's a method. A way of thinking, creating, listening, dwelling. A way of being that honors fluidity, embraces mystery, and dissolves control. To live oceanically is to live with rhythm, with silence, with depth. It's to let the sea shape the self not as object, but as practice. Not as symbol, but as source, and in that living, the mystery remains. Not as something to solve, but as something to become. 91. The ocean as architecture of reflection. The sea doesn't reflect like a mirror, it refracts. It bends light, distorts form, reshapes perception. To reflect oceanically is to allow distortion, to let clarity emerge through movement. To accept that truth may shimmer, shift, and submerge. This architecture is not symmetrical, it's fluid. It doesn't impose order, it invites resonance. The ocean teaches that reflection is not replication, it's transformation. And in that transformation, we glimpse ourselves differently. 92. The abyss as geometry of transformation. The deep is not chaotic, it's patterned. Its trenches curve, its currents spiral, its ecosystems form fractals of interdependence. To enter the abyss is to enter a geometry that doesn't fix, it flows. Could this geometry be philosophical, a way of structuring thought that honors recursion, emergence, and dissolution? The abyss doesn't draw lines, it traces rhythms. And in those rhythms, transformation becomes form. 93. The sea is rhythm of embodiment. The body is mostly water. The heartbeat echoes the tide. The breath mimics the wave. To embody the ocean is not metaphor, it's biology. But it's also philosophy, a way of inhabiting time, space, and self with fluidity. This rhythm is not mechanical, it's musical. It syncs with silence, with motion, with memory. The ocean doesn't just surround the body, it animates it. And in that animation, we become rhythmic beings. 94. The ocean as field of resonance. Sound travels farther in water. Vibration becomes structure, frequency becomes form. The ocean is not just a medium, it's a resonant field. A place where meaning emerges through echo, not assertion. To think in resonance is to think relationally. To let ideas vibrate, not collide. To let meaning ripple, not land. The sea teaches that truth may not be singular, it may be harmonic. 95. The abyss as logic of dissolution. Traditional logic seeks clarity, separation, resolution. But the abyss offers another kind, a logic of dissolution. Where contradiction is not error, it's depth. Where ambiguity is not flaw, it's invitation. This logic doesn't conclude, it continues. It doesn't define, it dissolves. It doesn't isolate, it integrates. The ocean doesn't argue, it absorbs. And in that absorption, a different kind of understanding emerges. 96. The sea is memory without form. The ocean remembers, but not in lines. It remembers in layers, in currents, in chemistry. Its memory is not archival, it's immersive. It doesn't store, it circulates. To remember oceanically is to let memory be fluid. To let the past move through the present, to let forgetting be part of remembering. The sea teaches that memory is not retrieval, it's rhythm. 97. The ocean as ethics of openness. The sea doesn't exclude, it receives. It doesn't judge, it transforms. It doesn't punish, it erodes. To live ethically like the ocean is to live with openness, with permeability, with responsiveness. This ethics is not passive, it's powerful. It reshapes without violence. It teaches without imposition. It heals without control. The ocean doesn't demand morality, it enacts care. 98. The abyss as ontology of becoming. What is the ocean? Not a thing but a becoming. A process, a rhythm, an unfolding. To be is not to be fixed, it's to be fluid. The abyss teaches that existence is not essence, it's emergence. This ontology doesn't define, it dances. It doesn't isolate, it interweaves. It doesn't conclude, it continues. The ocean doesn't ask what you are, it asks how you move. 99. The sea as cosmology of silence. Before stars, before light, before form there was silence. And perhaps there was water. The ocean may be the oldest metaphor for the cosmos. Not as space, but as depth. Not as expansion, but as immersion. To think cosmologically like the sea is to think without edges, without center, without finality. The ocean doesn't map the universe, it mirrors its mystery. 100. The ocean as the shape of philosophy. Philosophy often seeks clarity, structure, resolution. But the ocean offers another shape, fluid, rhythmic, unfinished. A shape that doesn't explain, it evokes, that doesn't conclude, it continues. To philosophize oceanically is to let thought breathe. To let silence speak, to let mystery remain. The sea doesn't answer, it echoes, and in that echo, we begin again. 101. The ocean as companion to solitude. Solitude on land can feel like isolation. But solitude at sea becomes immersion. The ocean doesn't leave you alone, it surrounds you. It doesn't echo your silence, it deepens it. To be alone with the sea is to be accompanied by vastness. This companionship is not comforting, it's clarifying. It strips away distraction, it amplifies presence. It invites introspection without urgency. The abyss doesn't fill the silence, it honors it. And in that honoring, solitude becomes sacred. 102. The sea as mirror of creative process. Creativity rarely moves in straight lines. It swells, recedes, crashes, stills. The ocean mirrors this perfectly. Ideas rise like waves, unexpected, unformed. They crest, visible, urgent. They break, dissolving into fragments, and then they return. To create with the sea is to accept this rhythm. To let failure be part of flow, to let erosion be part of emergence. The ocean doesn't produce, it reveals. And in that revelation, the creative process becomes tidal. 103. The abyss as archive of unspoken thoughts. Some thoughts never reach language. They drift beneath awareness like deep currents. They shape emotion, intuition, decision without ever surfacing. The ocean is their metaphor, a place where the unspoken lives. Could the abyss be a model for unconscious cognition? A space where meaning forms without articulation, a depth where thought is felt, not said? The ocean doesn't speak, but it thinks, and its thinking is immersive. 104. The sea is model of emotional intelligence. Emotions, like tides, are cyclical. They rise, fall, return. The ocean doesn't suppress, it expresses. It doesn't control, it contains. To feel like the sea is to allow movement. To let emotion be process, not problem. This intelligence is not rational, it's relational. It listens, it adapts, it responds. The ocean doesn't judge the storm, it absorbs it. And in that absorption, emotional depth becomes wisdom. 105. The ocean as temporal sanctuary. Time at sea feels different. Hours stretch, days blur, the horizon erases the clock. The ocean becomes a sanctuary from chronology, a place where time is not measured but felt. This sanctuary is not escape, it's recalibration. It allows thought to unfold without pressure. It lets creativity breathe, it lets silence expand. The abyss doesn't rush, it waits, and in that waiting, time becomes spacious. 106. The sea as geometry of attention. Attention on land is often fragmented, pulled by noise, screens, urgency. But at sea, attention becomes whole. It widens, it deepens, it slows. The ocean teaches a geometry of presence. This geometry is not linear, it's concentric. It moves inward and outward simultaneously. It allows focus to be fluid. The sea doesn't demand attention, it invites it. And in that invitation, awareness becomes architecture. 107. The abyss's threshold of transformation. Transformation rarely begins with clarity. It begins with descent, with immersion, with dissolution. The abyss is the threshold, the place where the old form breaks, and the new one hasn't yet arrived. To cross this threshold is to surrender control. To enter the unknown willingly, to let silence do its work. The ocean doesn't force change, it hosts it. And in that hosting, transformation becomes sacred. 108. The sea's philosophy of motion. Stillness is not the opposite of motion, it's its rhythm. The ocean teaches this. Its calm is not absence, it's balance. Its turbulence is not chaos, it's transition. To think like the sea is to think in motion. This philosophy doesn't fix, it flows. It doesn't conclude, it continues. It doesn't isolate, it integrates. The sea doesn't resist movement, it becomes it. And in that becoming, thought becomes tidal. 109. The ocean as ritual of renewal. Every wave is a beginning. Every tide is a return. The ocean doesn't end, it renews. To live with the sea is to live in ritual, a rhythm of letting go, receiving, transforming. This ritual is not religious, it's existential. It honors impermanence. It celebrates recurrence. It sanctifies change. The abyss doesn't erase, it reconfigures. And in that reconfiguration, life becomes ceremony. 110. The tidal mind. To think tidally is to think with rhythm. With silence, with depth, it's to let thought rise and fall. To let insight crest and dissolve, to let mystery remain. The tidal mind doesn't seek control, it seeks coherence. It doesn't fear the abyss, it listens to it. It doesn't resist transformation, it flows with it. And in that flow, the ocean becomes not just a metaphor, but a method. Not just a presence, but a practice. Not just a mystery, but a mind. 111. The ocean as embodied philosophy. Philosophy often lives in abstraction, in texts, in theories, in debates. But the ocean invites a different mode, embodied philosophy. A way of thinking that moves through the body, through breath, through rhythm. To think with the sea is to feel thought, to let ideas rise like waves, crest like insight, dissolve like silence. The ocean doesn't argue, it immerses, and in that immersion, philosophy becomes lived. 112. The abyss as memory and motion. Memory is not static, it moves. It shifts, refracts, returns. The ocean models this perfectly. Its currents carry chemical traces of past events. Its sediments layer time. Its creatures embody ancient rhythms. To remember oceanically is to let memory be tidal. To accept forgetting as part of remembering, to let the past flow through the present. The abyss doesn't archive, it circulates. And in that circulation, memory becomes alive. 113. The sea is ritual of attention. Attention is not just focus, it's presence. And presence, like the ocean, is rhythmic. It expands, contracts, deepens, returns. To attend like the sea is to let awareness breathe. This ritual is not rigid, it's responsive. It honors silence. It respects drift. It allows thought to unfold without urgency. The ocean doesn't demand attention, it teaches it. And in that teaching, awareness becomes architecture. 114. The ocean as logic of emergence. Traditional logic seeks clarity, consistency, control. But the ocean offers another kind, a logic of emergence. Where meaning arises through interaction. Where truth unfolds through rhythm. Where coherence is felt, not forced. This logic doesn't resolve, it resonates. It doesn't isolate, it integrates. It doesn't conclude, it continues. The sea doesn't explain, it evokes, and in that evocation, thought becomes tidal. 115. The abyss as silence that thinks. Silence is not absence, it's presence, and in the abyss, silence becomes thought. A form of cognition that doesn't speak, but resonates, that doesn't declare, but deepens. To think with silence is to let meaning emerge without articulation. To let depth replace definition, to let presence become philosophy. The ocean doesn't speak, but it thinks, and its thinking is immersive. 116. The sea as geometry of becoming is not linear, it's fluid. It spirals, loops, dissolves, reconfigures. The ocean models this perfectly. Its currents shape coastlines, its tides sculpt memory. Its rhythms transform identity. To become like the sea is to accept impermanence. To let change be form, to let erosion be design. The abyss doesn't resist becoming, it enacts it. And in that enactment, transformation becomes geometry. 117. The ocean as ethics of dissolution. Ethics often seeks boundaries, rules, duties, definitions. But the ocean offers another mode, an ethics of dissolution. Where care is fluid, where responsibility is rhythmic, where presence replaces prescription. This ethics doesn't impose, it invites. It doesn't judge, it absorbs. It doesn't punish, it transforms. The sea doesn't demand morality, it enacts coherence. And in that coherence, ethics becomes oceanic. 118. The abyss's ontology of immersion. To be is not to stand apart, it's to be immersed. The ocean teaches this. Its creatures don't observe, they participate. Its rhythms don't describe, they enact. Its silence doesn't isolate, it integrates. This ontology doesn't define being, it dissolves it. It lets existence be relational, rhythmic, responsive. The abyss doesn't ask what you are, it asks how you move. And in that movement, being becomes immersion. 119. The sea is cosmology of rhythm. The universe may not be built, it may be danced. The ocean suggests this. Its tides echo lunar cycles. Its currents mirror planetary motion. Its silence resonates with cosmic breath. To think cosmologically like the sea is to think in rhythm. To let motion replace structure, to let resonance replace hierarchy. The ocean doesn't map the cosmos, it mirrors its pulse. 120. The architecture of fluid thought. This is not metaphor, it's method, a way of thinking that honors rhythm, silence, immersion, transformation. A way of being that lets philosophy breathe, memory flow, ethics dissolve. To think fluidly is to think with the sea, to let the abyss shape awareness. To let rhythm become logic, to let silence become presence. 121. The ocean as ritual of disappearance. The sea doesn't erase, it absorbs. It doesn't forget, it transforms. To disappear into the ocean is not to vanish, it's to become part of something larger. The ritual of dissolution is not annihilation, it's integration. This ritual is enacted in every wave, every tide, every drift. It teaches that disappearance can be sacred. That to dissolve is to return, that to let go is to become. 122. The abyss's threshold of reconfiguration. The abyss is not a void, it's a threshold. A place where form breaks and rhythm begins. Where identity dissolves and presence expands. To cross it is to be reconfigured not by force, but by immersion. This threshold doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't define, it transforms. It doesn't conclude, it begins. The ocean doesn't mark endings, it opens continuities. 123. The sea as architecture of echo. The ocean doesn't speak, it echoes. It carries sound, memory, presence. It reflects without replicating. It responds without resisting. To dwell in its architecture is to live in resonance. This echo is not repetition, it's transformation. It reshapes what it receives. It deepens what it reflects. It dissolves what it holds. The sea doesn't preserve, it reverberates. 124. The ocean as philosophy of return is not regression, it's rhythm. The tide returns, the current loops, the wave reappears. The ocean teaches that return is not repetition, it's renewal. To think in return is to think cyclically, to let ideas revisit, reconfigure, re-emerge. The abyss doesn't forget, it remembers differently. And in that remembering, philosophy becomes tidal. 125. The sea is silence that remembers. Silence in the ocean is not absence, it's memory. It holds what cannot be spoken, it preserves what cannot be named. It carries what cannot be held. To listen to this silence is to enter a memory beyond language. A depth beyond articulation, a presence beyond form. The sea doesn't archive, it remembers through rhythm. 126. The abyss is mirror of the unfinished. We are not finished, we are becoming. The ocean reflects this. It shows us not who we are, but how we move, not what we know, but how we dissolve. To face the abyss is to face the unfinished self, the self in motion, the self in question. The ocean doesn't confirm, it invites, and in that invitation, we begin again. 127. The sea's method of surrender. Surrender is not defeat, it's transformation. The ocean teaches this. It doesn't resist, it receives. It doesn't grasp, it flows. It doesn't impose, it dissolves. To surrender oceanically is to let go of control. To let rhythm replace rigidity. To let silence replace certainty. The abyss doesn't demand surrender, it enacts it. 128. The ocean as ritual of listening. Listening is not passive, it's immersive. The sea teaches this. It listens with depth, with rhythm, with silence. It receives without judgment. It responds without interruption. To listen like the ocean is to become porous. To let meaning enter without resistance. To let presence shape perception. The abyss doesn't speak, it listens. And in that listening, transformation begins. 129. The sea's final gesture. The final gesture is not closure, it's continuation. The ocean doesn't end, it returns. It doesn't resolve, it deepens. It doesn't conclude, it dissolves. To gesture like the sea is to move with rhythm. To think with silence, to create with surrender. The abyss doesn't finish, it flows, and in that flow, the final gesture becomes the first. 130. The ritual of dissolution. This is not an ending. It's a ritual, a movement toward depth. A surrender to rhythm, a becoming with silence. The ocean doesn't conclude, it continues. To dissolve is not to disappear, it's to transform. To let the self become rhythm. To let thought become tide. To let presence become echo. And in that echo, the mystery remains. Not as something to solve, but as something to live with, to think with, to become.